Alright, random conversation about guns since I'm going to be on the road for a while. I be philosophizing, but I never get around to posting my shit. You know. And for you white people, that's black people colloquial talk. Yeah, I be this, I be that, I be doing this, that's what we talk. But anyway, let's talk about some of the hypocrisy that I hear in the gun community, and then we'll go to some miscellaneous shit. Hypocrisy I hear in the gun community. Hypocrisy I hear in the gun community, and I don't even have the list in my head. I had a list before in my head, and I don't have a list in my head. Maybe it'll come to me, but let me just start with the main one and the biggest one. And that might be the only one, because I can't think of what the other ones are right now until it comes to me. But hypocrisy in the gun community. One of the biggest hypocritical things I've heard in the gun community is and I'll admit, I've heard one or two people actually acknowledge this when it actually gets put forth on the table. And this is typically coming from the conservative side, which typically is the pro-gun side. For example, I remember when it came to Obamacare, right? Oh, we gotta get rid of Obamacare. Oh, it's reparations for slavery, right? Just dumbass Glenn Beck bullshit, right? What about states' rights? It's the state should have the right not to have Obamacare. It's the states' rights. States' rights all day. That's their fucking argument. However, when we get over to gun laws, we should have national reciprocity for a carry license for the whole United States of America. Right? Now, some people can say, oh, I'm comparing apples to oranges and Obamacare. Well, that's different, and that's something, and this is the Second Amendment. And, somebody can make a weak-ass argument like that if they wanted to. But I'm saying, when you really look at it at face value for what it is, it's like shit you want. You know, people go, oh, yeah, that should be national. I should be able to go across every state in the union, with my carry concealed permit. And they should all recognize it, right? So I should be able to go from California to New Jersey or New York. They should all recognize my federal, all-encompassing United States of America firearms permit, right? But yet you start talking about other areas, the government federally regulating or federally controlling or federally mandating, and all of a sudden, states' rights, right? And it's like, here you got Obamacare coming from a black man, states' rights. Even though the man's fucking biracial and he's half fucking white. But the gun community, they get on their conservative dumbass bullshit, right? I can say the same thing about when they tried to integrate the schools, right? They try to integrate the schools in the South and Arkansas and Mississippi and Virginia and all that shit. States' rights! States' rights! Right? But then when it comes to states' rights to regulate itself as it pertains to its own gun and carry laws, oh no. Oh no. It needs to be federally regulated, and I should be able to carry wherever the fuck I want. Right? I mean, the hypocrisy of all of that is blatant. Hypocrisy of that is blatant. Now all of a sudden, states' rights go out the door. On the flip side, here's the hypocrisy of the liberals and the Democrats, right? The hypocrisy of the liberals and Democrats. Same argument. Right? Newtown parents coming into the state of New Jersey. Oh, my poor little child. He was shot in the blaze of machine gun fire. And we want you to reduce your capacity to 10 rounds. right? And it's like, now, we already know Christie vetoed all that shit. But I'm saying, we want you to reduce your capacity to 10 rounds because, you know, save one life, and lives are valuable and everything else like that. We get all that, right? However, right, nobody's saying states' rights at that point. Nobody's saying, hey, you know, I'm sorry for your loss, parents from Connecticut, but you're from Connecticut. You need to focus on what you can do in your own state. Okay, a lot of gun laws were passed in Connecticut, so much so that the manufacturers of the guns in Connecticut moved the fuck out. Okay, mission accomplished for your state. You did your job, right? But then, right, here's the funny part. Here's hypocrisy. The same people that will bring in, you know, Connecticut, you know, Newtown parents to advocate for new gun control in the state of New Jersey will be the same people that when Drake went to the Supreme Court and you had the 19 states that supported, I think Louisiana, Wyoming, and there was like a whole bunch of other ones, supported the gun, right to carry in New Jersey. What did those same people that were brought in the Newtown people from a different state, what did they jump up and say? They jumped up and said, you know, oh, they need to butt out. Wyoming needs to butt out. Louisiana needs to butt out. They need to butt out of New Jersey's business. You know? But yet, how come they wasn't saying that to the Newtown parents? Like, this isn't your fight. You need to butt out. No, instead, they go up there with tears and handkerchiefs and, you know, and I hate to sound, you know, insensitive. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, I got my skepticism of the whole Newtown thing when I saw that YouTube video of the daddy who's smiling when his little girl's supposed to be dead. And then you got, of course, the guy that ran out the back of the building and in fatigues, but then they let him go. And I was actually watching television when that happened. I actually watched the television of the guy who ran out the back of the school and then they let him go. And I'm like, who's this guy? In fatigues. But anyway, whole different topic, whole different point. Okay? So, you know, that hypocrisy, like, bothers me. I know there was some other hypocritical things, and maybe they'll come to me later, and maybe I'll make a different video about them. I forget what they are. But let's go into, like, some, like, miscellaneous gun stuff. Like, what's miscellaneous, you know, stuff that's going on now? Should I talk about racism? Oh, no, don't talk about racism! We white people, we support you! We support you, New Jersey gun laws. We support everything you say. But, oh, God damn it, man. When you start talking about that white racism shit and white supremacy, you know, that white guilt just comes down on me. And I don't want to hear that shit. You know, why can't you just talk about guns and just keep it guns? Why do you got to come through and start talking about how the white man's holding black people down and shit? God damn it, right? They don't want me talking about that shit. But, like, you know, I like realize something, you know, about like, you know, black people and guns, and it kind of like illustrates just kind of how racist America is, you know, in terms, and I'm saying, you know, black people are significantly affected by this shit. You know, it's like me, I'm a black guy, I'm pro Second Amendment, you know, I'm all for, you know, black people having more arms, right? Since we, you know, have this economic problem in the black community, right? And, you know, basically, without an economy, you can't control your own youth. You can't control the behavior in your own community, right? Which, I go on my spiel about white supremacy, controlling everything and wanting to keep the black community in this fucked up state so that the black community cannot challenge them, and, you know, patriarchy versus patriarchy and all that bullshit. I could go all and talk about all that all day. You know, but I'm saying, it's like you got the Trayvon Martin case, right? And you have no idea how many black people, when I start talking, I'm pro Second Amendment, I'm a black dude. You have no idea how many black, oh, you know, if you carry a gun, the white people will shoot you. The white police officers will shoot you. You know, or you'll get shot like Trayvon Martin. You know, it's like they scared to carry now because of, you know, the idea, you know, the proverbial black man with a wallet and he gets shot 52 times. You know? You know, so they're like, oh, you'll get shot. And it's like, that doesn't even make sense, because I'm like, if white America is racist, right? It's just racist. And they shooting black people with wallets. You know what I mean? I get the point. Like, the idea is, oh, they'll shoot you because now you have a real gun. But I'm like, well, if they're already shooting us with wallets, like, what the fuck does it matter? I mean, shit, at least, you know, I might be able to shoot back or something, you know, die in the blaze of glory, you know? But, like, you know, they get on this, you know, whole, well, you know, we'll shoot you with, you know, they'll shoot you because you have a gun on you. You know, which is you know, very much a conversation when it comes to, you know, black people with guns, young black men carrying guns for defensive purposes. You know, like I said before, it kills me. You got Ted Nugent running around, oh, you know, the black people this, black people that, you know, acting like this motherfucker this motherfucker lives like way out in the northern peninsula of fucking Michigan and shit. Like as though he encounters black people on a daily fucking basis. You don't encounter black people on a daily fucking basis. The black people who are living in urban environments are the ones who are most likely to be the victims of crime. Yes, perpetrated by other black people. Because what do you think is going to happen when you got a situation of people living in conditions of poverty? Okay, no jobs, no economic opportunities. That's like the freaking recipe for, you know, crime and burglars and carjackings and everything else. It doesn't matter that the people are black. They're all down there struggling, trying to survive. And if they got to take out the next man, that's what the fuck they're going to do. You take 2 lions, you put them in a cage, you remove the water, you remove the food, and you come back in 2 weeks. There's only going to be 1 lion standing there and the carcass of another lion. And that's essentially what white supremacy does. But let me not go down that route. Let me go in a different direction. You know, but it's like, and then I'll give the NRA slight credit on this, because they were the first one. I got the NRA app in my phone, and I got the notification. It was like boop, and it talking about the PA mom, right? I forget, Shayna Allen, I think that's her name. Pennsylvania mom comes into New Jersey, right? And I'm actually more pissed off at whoever the fucking instructors were who gave her the license and didn't say this is no good in New Jersey. I'm more pissed off at the people who did not instruct them. Like when I got my Utah carry concealed permit, non-resident Utah carry concealed permit, before I couldn't carry in Pennsylvania, thanks to, you know, what her name is, Attorney General Kane, Miss Kane. Right now, I can no longer carry in Pennsylvania because I have a non-resident permit, not a resident permit. You know, I was informed, like, this is no good in New Jersey, even though you're a resident of New Jersey. Like, I mean, it's kind of like a no duh, you know, but, you know, not informing these people. I mean, personally, I mean, I do find fault with her and accountability with her because of her woeful ignorance. You know, guns and gun laws is not something to play with. You know what I mean? And I mean, just, you know, oh yeah. And then not only that, but she fucked up, and even the judge said that, the cop that arrested her said that. She fucked up when she opened her mouth and said, yes, I have a gun in the car. Dumb. You know, I mean, you know, I'm even nervous about doing that, even if I'm in a state where I'm perfectly legal. I'm like, oh, did the gun laws change overnight? You know what I mean? Like, what happened, you know, with the Utah permit in Pennsylvania? They did that shit in secrecy. You know what I mean? If I wasn't one of those people that goes to USA Carry all the time and looks it up all the time, I wouldn't know. I would have walked into Pennsylvania one day and a cop would have stopped me or something like that. And, oh, officer, I have my permit. And the officer would have been like, nope, well, actually, that was overturned, you know, Friday. And it's now Tuesday, and you're fucked. You don't even know. Like, you don't even know when they fucking change the laws and shit like that. Like, you expect it to change and there to be some glorious announcement. You know, you hear about it. Maybe it's controversy around it. People are going to talk about it. The gun community does not make awareness of that. Other than the NRA, and I guess that's where you find your information. But you think that, like, this would be topic of discussions and forums. And this is one of the things I don't like about the gun community. Because if it doesn't affect them, they don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck. If it doesn't affect them, they don't care. But yet they'll sit there and start talking about, that was the other hypocrisy thing that came to me. They'll sit there and then they'll talk about, oh, why can't we have reciprocity? But when shit goes down in some other state, right? When shit goes down in New Jersey and they trying to do this and trying to do that, right? It's like people don't care, and it's like, it seems strange because it's like, well, like, in other words, like, to go back to Shayna Allen, what the leaders of the gun community have recognized is that every fight is the fight that you want to fight, because every fight will set new precedents, set new standards, and hopefully it goes to the Supreme Court, and then it's like you're forcing the Supreme Court to make a decision, which thinking about it, I don't think that they're going to, because it'll fall back to states' rights. It'll fall back to states' rights. This whole idea of keeping bear arms and the vague ambiguity of it, right? They don't want to interpret that. They want to leave that alone. So, even though I give the NRA kudos for taking up the Shayna Allen case, I'm kind of like, they're using it as a way to further their agenda, which I don't have a particular problem with per se. But be it that she's a black woman and, the whole conservative shitting on, black men, shitting on black women, I'm like, kind of like, again with the, the whole white people, Sandy Hook and the 26 children and the teacher, right? Shedding tears all over the place. But when it comes to the type of violence that's going on in Chicago, every weekend, which is, totally unrelated, but has to do with the narco economy and white supremacy and racism and discrimination and economic disparities and all that other shit, white people don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? So the idea that all of a sudden, the NRA and whoever has had this amazing change of heart, and white people collectively now suddenly care about what's really going on with, Shayna Allen. You know what I mean? Did I say Shayna Shaw? That's a porn star. If I said Shayna Shaw, she got a fat ass for a fucking white girl. But anyway, yeah. Shayna Allen. Like, the idea that they care about fucking Shayna Allen, that's bullshit to me. It's total bullshit. She got, 3 black boys? Oh yeah, 3 black boys that are going to turn into, the person that you're, fantasizing in your head as a concealed white gun owner, that's going to rob you 3 o'clock in the morning while you decide to go to the ATM. First off, like Chris Rock said, ain't nobody going to the ATM at 3 o'clock in the morning for some good shit. There's nothing positive is coming out of going to the ATM at 3 o'clock in the morning. What are you going to the ATM at 3 o'clock in the morning for? What do you need $300 at 3 o'clock in the morning at the ATM? If you ain't planning on going to, get you some nookie, get you some ass or some shit like that. Go to the strip club. It ain't nothing positive, Oh, I gotta have my concealed carry permit or my concealed carry weapon because of, those damn niggers might come out of the bushes and rob me, right? Because that's what they do, just totally ignoring economic disparities and all that other stuff and white supremacy and all that other shit, just totally ignoring that. But like, to me, it's kind of bullshit, oh, now all of a sudden they care, when I'm torn because, like, as a pro-gun person, like, yeah, I want them to support Shayna Allen. I want it, but again, you got to look at it for, is it right that they really care? No, it's not that they really care. It's about, furthering the agenda. I still believe that the old sentiments and the old feelings and the old classic shit that was just there last week is still fucking there. You know, and, you know, granted, it might be a transitioning and everything, and, you know, you got Coley on Noir, and they're recognizing that they got to diversify. This crazy thing is, the NRA is actually doing what the conservative party, the Republicans, should have been doing. But instead of running around with Southern strategy and they're going to come and take your shit and you know, all this is, you know, going to lazy black folks somewhere. You know, that's what the conservative party pushes, which is why black people don't fuck with them. But I personally believe that black people need to, you know, boycott the Democratic Party until they get what they really need, which is control of their own schools so that they can educate themselves, you know, so that they can solve their own problems in their own communities. Okay, that would help out black people immensely. Not this shit that, you know, white supremacy wants to facilitate, which is go to school, get an education, get a job, and then go out there and work for some white person. No, black people need to have their own shit. You know, if we could go back to separate but equal, I would be more than willing to fucking do that. Okay, because this shit, this integration, as you want to, that shit ain't working out for black people. Again, I direct you to your nearest black community. Look at the economic disparities. You can fucking see it. Integration ain't work for black people. The shit is backfired. You know, even having a black president has backfired due to white racial resentment. Oh, you know, I don't need to hire any more blacks. I mean, shit, Barack Obama's up there. Racism is over. Right? I mean, black people do better underneath a white president than they do underneath a black president, because they can actually ask a white president to do some shit, and the rest of white people aren't so quick to jump up and scream, oh, favoritism, he's being racially biased, even though you would think that a motherfucker that's half black and half white would be the perfect person to bridge the gap between whites and blacks, but fuck no, not in America. You know, that's how threatened white people are by black anything. That's how fucking threatened they are by that shit, especially a black person in fucking power. You know, because they've been convinced that, even though it's the white elite that are really the ones fucking them in the ass. Worried about black people. Black people ain't the ones with billions of dollars and shit. We're not the ones that control Wall Street. We're not the ones that made it crash. You need to go over there and talk to your Ivy League, Harvard, you know, Stanford, Brown, Cornell, you know, what's the other one? I don't even know if Cornell is Ivy League. Is it Ivy League? Maybe it is Ivy League. You know, UPenn, motherfucker. You need to go talk to them. They're the ones pushing your money around in the fucking banks and then make it disappear. And the next thing you know, they're foreclosing your house. It ain't black people doing that shit. But no, you can't tell white folks that shit. They so scared of black people because of the images that the white elite have created in order to create the fucking scapegoat and boogeyman of black people coming to take your shit, that they don't even focus on the people that's really fucking them in the ass with a big fat white rich ass fucking cock. So annoying. Like, oh man, the proletariat white folks, man, them motherfuckers don't think. They just take everything for granted, and most of them are just oblivious as fuck. They got the most basic regurgitated arguments. See, let me back up. I'm getting in my racial rant. Let me calm down. Because, you know, white people can't handle all this shit at once. They're like, I don't like this black guy. He's saying disparaging things about white people, but in the back of their brain, they're like, God damn, this nigger's making a lot of sense. I don't know what to make of it. I need to go back to the laboratory. You know, they don't know what to do when I start fucking laying shit out. They're like fucking fucked up in the head and shit. You know. But anyway, I digress. So, where was I? Yeah, the Second Amendment, pro-guns, you know, the whole, you know, other gun owners not really caring about what goes on in the states, in other states. You know, they don't care, and then, and it's like, how do you not care? And then all of a sudden, it's like, okay, like example. I don't care that another state gets reduced to 10 rounds because I'm good and and I'm good in my state, right? But then they advocate for reciprocity. Okay, let's just say you gained reciprocity from the state of New York. Okay, well, okay, you can carry in New York, but you can only carry 10 rounds, right? Which you know that they would be bitching about even if they could carry in New York. They'd be like, well, I don't see why I can't bring my 17-round SR9 magazine in New York. This is bullshit. So you're telling me I can't even carry that particular gun in New York? You know, I have to get a 10-round magazine or carry a smaller gun that has a smaller pistol grip with a smaller magazine. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's still going to affect you. Even if you had reciprocity, it would affect you more if there was reciprocity. You know what I mean? Because just because they grant you reciprocity doesn't mean that the reciprocity laws would all be the same. You know, in one state you can carry in this particular location, like Georgia, that just open up the doors to carrying whatever the fuck you really want to carry, right? And in another state you can't. One state you can carry in schools, another state you can't carry in schools. Or one state you can carry in the library, another state you can't carry in the library, or a place of worship or whatever. You know what I mean? So there'll still be issues with that shit. Unless you somehow uniformly made all the laws the same. Right? But nobody cares until it affects them. Like I said, nobody cared. Nobody cares about, black people living in poverty and shitty schools for black people and all this. Nobody cares until, Ray Ray, Pookie, Jamal, Marquise, Deshaun, and Latrell, carjack your daughter for her Jetta and then she ends up in a ditch somewhere. Then, when she's being buried or whatever, like I said with the freaking Short Hills Mall shooting in New Jersey, where the 30-year-old lawyer lost his life, to the 4 black guys that carjacked him, then they're going boo-hoo. Then now they want to cry. Now they want to, do something. Get rid of the black people or whatever. I'm like, motherfucker, what made you think that this shit wasn't going to spill on to you? It's been spilling on to other black people forever. We've been getting wet all day, every day. What makes you think it's not going to spill on to you? You think people are just going to exist like that indefinitely and just accept their lot in life? Not going to happen. Not going to happen. You're going to have people who are going to rebel. You're going to have people who are going to say, fuck the system because it's not beneficial to them. And and eventually it'll get to the point where you're just going to have outright revolution. Oh my God, he said the R word. Oh my God. It's like the hypocrisy. It's like fucking, other fucking hypocrisy. White people running around. Oh, Israel is being, the Palestinians, those terrorists, right? Oh, those terrorists, they're attacking the Jews that we love so much, right? And I already know there's conservatives that don't like Jews, but that's not my fucking point. My point is they're calling the Palestinians or anybody who rises up, freedom fighters, whatever the fuck you want to call them, rises up, all of a sudden they're fucking terrorists. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, the United States of America was founded by a bunch of fucking terrorists. What do you think the fucking British were calling the colonialists who rebelled against them with John Hancock's big ass signature saying "fuck you"? What do you think that they called them? Terrorists. You know what I mean? Piers Morgan, if we could have a time machine, he'd be the main one and shit. Talking about the Mother Queen and how, send me to America and I will squelch the rebellion. You know what I'm saying? Like he'd be the main one. And white people jump up and, everybody else is a terrorist. Yeah, everybody else is a terrorist when it goes against you preserving your way of life. When it goes against you preserving your way of life, they're terrorists. But when it goes to anybody else trying to preserve their way of life, when it goes to you preserving your way of life, you are, all American or whatever. When it goes to somebody else trying to preserve their way of life, they're a terrorist. There's the hypocrisy. Okay? There's the hypocrisy. And I am fucking sitting in some retarded fucking traffic right now. This is retarded fucking traffic. Anyway, that's my video. New Jersey gun law's out. That's all I gotta say for now, because now I gotta focus, because it's bumper to bumper, and I don't want to bump into somebody or whatever. But anyway, I'm out.